Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Escape from San Francisco podcast. I have a really great guest today. This is something in the making. It's been maybe like 5 months, something like that.
More,
Maybe a little bit more than
yeah,
that. I've been
yeah.
trying to get you on, and I think that we're on at the right time. That we both need to. That we both are in a good state to do this, and so it's one of my first times traveling to come do a podcast from the city, coming all the way out here into the East Bay. It was exciting and a pleasure for me because I believe that you are a really great person, and the business and the work that you do pretty much says a lot about who you are as a person. And meeting your husband and seeing you inviting me into your beautiful home, it means a lot to me. So I appreciate you coming on the podcast first and foremost. But I would like for you to talk a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, first, thank you, Aaron. Thanks for coming out. I really do appreciate that. It means a lot that you're here, and I'm really excited. Like you said, it's been a couple months in the making, and for one thing or another, it just hasn't happened. But it is the right time. So I really do appreciate you. Thank you for having me too.
Oh, thank you. Um, before get into who you are
Yes,
and what you do,
yes,
I just want to acknowledge real quickly the mural, this beautiful mural that you have back here, and the
yes.
artwork that went behind it. Can you explain a little bit of this?
Oh, most definitely. This mural is wow. It's a lot of things. I'll tell you the angel. The angel represents me as a child. If you see her wings, they're black wings, and that means that she's in mourning. I'm in mourning. This piece is dedicated to my mother and my father, who have passed away, and I struggled with depression over losing my mother. And just being able to talk about that and talk about my feelings and express that, I've always had a very, very challenging time, a very, very difficult time. And this artist, her name is Jasmine Beckett Smith, who does these angels, the little faces this way. And when I saw this particular one, everything resonated with her. I saw myself in her. And I asked my nephew, who made the mural, if he would paint that for me. And he added his twists, my twists, and he added my pups down below, Kobe and Bella, who are also now in heaven. But I just gave him elements of what I wanted. And basically, I was just representing myself, my culture, my family. I wanted to walk in here and feel my mom's presence, my dad's presence, and my ancestors. And I just wanted a space where I felt safe, where I felt that I could cry if I needed to cry, if I wanted to be alone. And I'm here pretty much by myself a lot of the time. The pups accompany me all the time. My husband will come in and out, but that's that mural, and she has a sadness to her eyes, but that is me. That was me, and that's what I wanted the mural to depict, the sadness and the real feelings, because I could not say it verbally, if that makes sense.
They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? So when I came in here and I was looking at it, I didn't know what to interpret. Just but hearing your story behind it, it gives me a sense of what you're trying to accomplish. What is this? And so it might mean different things to different people, but what it ultimately means to you is what's the most important. And so yeah, just seeing all the sugar skulls, the Mexican flag, just the colors, and then just coming in here and seeing a really cool um, space that you have set up. So this is your workshop, right? This is where everything that you do um, gets done. And so, can you talk a little bit about like what you do?
Yes, yes. So, yes, this is my workshop, and it has a little bit of everything in here. And I try to be as organized as I can, but sometimes it's not as organized, but I know where my things are. This is where the thought process happens for me when I'm sketching things out, I'm journaling, I'm actually creating things, I'm cutting things, putting accessories together. And this is where all the inspiration, just even in the colors and the little things that I have in here that reminds me again, like what my passions are, what my purpose is. If you look around, I know there's a lot, but you'll see just little areas where I need reminders, I need my affirmations, and I need to think about things that inspire me in order for me to be creative on this table, in order for me to put my heart and my soul into my work. This is where I'll package all the items. This is where I write the notes to my beautiful customers who shop with me. And I love being here. This is where it happens.
How did you get into making jewelry?
I started getting into it again. Going back, if we're gonna really be transparent, which is what I strive to do, and honest, it was during the time that I lost my mom. It was during the time where also, we were displaced from home, from the mission, and there was a lot of sadness, a lot of rage, a lot of anger, and I didn't know how to channel that. I didn't know how to not be in so much pain. And I thought about, well, maybe journaling, maybe writing, maybe write down my feelings, doing something. And just one night I started like accessorizing veladoras. You know what veladoras are? Like the candles with like the Virgen de
Oh,
Guadalupe
okay, okay.
and other little
Yeah,
things.
okay.
Well, I started putting my own images on there. So I had like La Virgen de Guadalupe, I had Tupac, Maria Felix, Selena, and just, I would put like glitter, make them really, really pretty. And then little by little, people would ask me, hey, do you sell them? Like, I would love to buy one. And that's how that started. But I've always been creative as a child. I liked putting things on my clothes. I liked cutting stuff up. My sister was amazing at that too. So she would make some things for us and change stuff. So it's always been in me. But that is really where the creating to heal my broken heart and soul, that's how this journey began for me.
So it was like a form of art therapy for yourself, and just a way to, um, get into your own space and be comfortable, and just let things go, and flow with whatever you're working on, and challenging or channeling that into your work. It just seems like it's just a beautiful way to process things. Well, I mean, we all have our own ways on how we handle things,
Mhm.
whichever which way that is for people. Coming from the substance abuse field, one of the worst ways is to channel it into drinking and, illicit drug use, whatever it might be, because ultimately that crushes people. It crushes their soul and takes away their health, and sometimes they lose everything. And so, one of the biggest things is when I used to work is trying to find something, an alternative for individuals to help cope with some of their traumas, and some of the traumas involve losing, like loss of parents or loss of family members. And so I would always try to incorporate little things here and there, but it's like, how do you find what actually works for you, and going with that and taking that big step. So finding that for yourself and making it to a business, how long was that journey for you? Because I understand, as we talked earlier, that wasn't what you're doing full time. Like, that was something that you gradually did along the way.
Right. Um, that journey began in 2012. And I started off as Alma de Valentina, Valentina's soul. That's what my little shop was called then. And again, just doing little things to I didn't know at the time when I was doing it it wasn't really clear to me because my focus at that time was I don't want to feel what I'm feeling. I don't want to hurt. I don't want to cry anymore. So that was me focusing on something else in order to avoid that pain. Because when my mom passed away, yeah, I was drinking. I was heavily drinking. And these are things that I haven't spoken about openly because they're so difficult.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I'm at a place where I can talk about those things and people can relate to those things. And, it got to the point where drinking wasn't doing anything. I would drink and I was not even inebriated. I wasn't drunk. I would get sick. And my husband, my poor husband, he would try anything to kind of get me out of that depression, and whether it was taking me out, going for walks, and buying me like paint and things like that. And that's how that journey began in 2012. Now, shortly after that, not shortly after, Mission Native will be 5 years old this year. So I did Alma de Valentina first, 2012, and then 5 years ago, Mission Native was born.
So how was Mission Native? How did you evolve from that into Mission Native? Where did that start?
The same, I think the same things again. Now we're no longer, my mom's passing was no longer the the topic at hand for me per se. It was more of seeing the unwanted changes in our community. What I mean by that, the gentrification, the pushing out of people out of our neighborhoods, all the things that were happening. I felt like I had no control. My community did not have a say, even though some people pretended that we did have a say in it. We really didn't. These changes and people just came out of just nowhere. I felt like they were stealing and taking our culture and our livelihood and just switching things on us, painting things over, starting new buildings, and it was just crazy. And I found myself angry, just pissed all the time, wanting to fight with people, argue with people. And it was rage again. So here we are, healing from my mom's, trying to find my peace to cope. And then I'm out in my community working, seeing how this is impacting the families that I'm working with and, impacting me. And that anger just resurfaced again. It just found a new way to affect me. And so I got into an argument with like 5 people one day. And I know it's now in retrospect, yes, that was crazy. I mean, that things could have went off sideways, could have been, really bad, and I didn't care. And I was pissed and furious, and it was bad, but it could have been worse. And that night I came home and I was upset, and I told my husband what had happened, and he was worried. He was like, "Oh my God," but he's like, "You're by yourself out there, like in the hood. You're over there fighting with people. You're arguing with people. And you understand, I'm at work. Like, if someone does anything to you or whatever, like I can't just come swing by and just, defend you and take care of you. Like you're by yourself." And I'm like, "So what? So what? I can take care of myself." And he's like, "No. You're missing the point. Someone's gonna hurt you. Something's gonna go sideways. Some shit's gonna pop off, and I'm worried for you." And I mean, now I think about what, could have, should have, whatever, but it didn't go that way. And so that night, I was crying. I was crying and just cried myself to sleep. Like, I can't live like this. I can't fight everybody. I'm not trying to end up in jail, because that's what's going to happen. Like I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to use my job and just everything I work so hard for over someone who doesn't give a shit about me at the end of the day. So I just remember falling asleep crying in like a little kid. You know how when you just when you even sigh, when you're crying so much and you just like like you just can't anymore, right? That's all I remember. And I fell asleep at some point. And it was, I don't know, maybe 1, 2 in the morning. I don't remember. I woke up because I heard a voice. I heard a voice. I heard it in my ear. I heard it. And I know it sounds crazy, but this is so real, Aaron. I heard someone whisper to me, Mission Native. And I stood, I stood at my bed. Like I remember waking up, sitting on my bed, and I'm like, okay, nobody's here. I'm tripping. What's going on, right? And my heart's racing, and I'm like, Mission Native. Why would someone whisper that to me? That's crazy. Or where did that, what is it? So then I grabbed my phone. I went on to the Google and I went on to Instagram and everything that I could think of. Nobody's Mission Native, right? Nope, nobody was. Nobody was. And so then after I just sat there in silence, I knew who that was. I knew who that was. That was me. That was meant for me. That divine message was meant for me. And it just made sense at the moment. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how it was going to manifest. I had no clue. I just knew that I had to turn that anger into something empowering and positive for myself. That's all I knew, because I had to. I couldn't live like that anymore. And that's what happened. That's what happened.
It's an amazing story on how you got to that point. Yeah, I mean, hearing, not only you but other, San Francisco natives, that like the story of like how, for example, I had someone I worked with. Their grandparents were born in San Francisco. They bought a house. Their parents were born in San Francisco. Unfortunately they didn't buy a house. They were born in San Francisco, but by the time their grandparents passed, they sold the house to give it to give the money to the children, and then their parents couldn't afford to buy a house. And they're around my age, they can't afford to buy no house, so now they had to leave, even though their grandparents were born here. Their parents were born, they were born here. By the time it got to the third generation, that's how much they got pushed to the point. And so I hear a lot of this, and it is saddening. But to see the vibrant, ness of the people, the resilientness of those that are still here, and they have not gone nowhere. Just because you might not live in San Francisco anymore, you're still part of San Francisco in every which way, and you're still part of the Bay Area, and you make that voice felt, by doing the things that you do, or selling your jewelry, going to the pop-up events, meeting the people, interacting with people, with your customers, and you're telling your story. And that's the beautiful part about it. If it's just trying to get back as much as you can. Hopefully one day, you're able to, be in a place where you're able to, maybe call San Francisco home one day again. I remember talking to you last
My
time.
residence.
Yeah, your residency. I remember talking. I believe it was you. He's talking about, maybe one day finding a place. I think it was one of your Instagram lives or something I was listening to. And
Where I was
yeah,
crying and I had boogers and everything. You saw
it's
that
okay.
one?
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh man, yeah,
It's
that was
okay.
real.
That's I rather listen to that and hear that than hear all the other fake stuff that goes on online and stuff. And it's like, where are the realness to come back again, right? Those that you see that it is real, to hear the passion and hear the conviction with the words that you have, and seeing how much it actually affects you. That's that to me. I will support and watch as much as I can, because that's what I, you know, personally respect. It's just trying to be as real as you can. I never try to be anything I'm not, and those people that are close to me are all like that as well. It's something that stems from, your words, Mission Native. You don't ever come off as someone that's like, trying to be something that you're not, or making it seem that, whatever it might be, you're far from. no, like you're mission native. You know the area. You grew up in the area that's home to you. You're able to let people know that like this is me and this is why I have to become this because I don't want this to ever get taken away. Um, I do not know the history of mission as much as I should. I've been very disconnected from my culture growing up. I don't speak Spanish. I understand it to a certain point. Um, my father is fluent. My mother is somewhat fluent. My grandparents are fluent. They spoke to me in Spanglish growing up my entire life. My grandparents raised me. My dad is an immigrant from Mexico, and so I do miss that type of culture and the Mexican culture. Growing up Latino, growing up Mexican, I did have it to a certain degree, and I'm losing it. I'm losing it over time, and I'm fearful that if I have my children one day, I don't want them to not have that. And that's what that scares me so much is like losing our culture and losing certain aspects of the culture. I'm not saying all of it. I'm just saying certain aspects of it is what terrifies me of like when it's gone, it's gone.
I Yes, yes. I agree with you. And just with Mission Native, I mean, that's just not me, right? It's all of us that are from the mission. And it is my form of like reclaiming my space, refusing to let it go because there are still families that live there. Our people are still there. And I say this all the time, working in the community, maybe, there are 6, 10, 15 people in a room. That shit is real. Like people are there. I mean, we're still there. I walk down, I see my gente, I see my people. A lot of us can't be there, for just reasons like I said, not being able to afford being there anymore. But those who hang on to it, people are either blessed, they have their own space, or they still have their rent control, and amen, and that's a blessing in itself for them. But our people are still there. And yes, I don't want any of this like to disappear. People argue, well, it's not the same anymore. And I get that. It's not the same as obviously as when we were growing up. But I tell people there are things that are never going to change. There are spots that are still there. There's still memories there. It's what you have in your heart and what you have in your soul. And yes, I don't live there anymore. And again, I reiterate, it's not by choice. But no doubt, I am part of my community. I'm still part of the mission. And that's going to be until God wants it to be like that. I'm very much part of my community, and I don't see the mission not being part of my life because that's who I am. That's who raised me. Every beautiful memory, every milestone, everything, it all happened in La Misión. That's where everything happened, and I feel it so near and dear to my heart. And even like I don't know if you recognized or not, or even saw there's certain things in my home that as soon as you walk in, I feel like I'm in the mission. I feel like I'm home in the mission. That was very done very purposeful, from the colors on my wall to whatever tile that you see at home. That's all the influence of me growing up. Unfortunately, I'm not there, but I bring that with me here because this is my home. I need to feel safe here, and I want to feel home here on the times that I'm not over there because I'm over there all the time.
Yeah, yeah. S- um, and so the times that you're there, you're doing pop ups.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about what the pop ups are and what you do there?
Yes, yes. So pop-ups, um, it's where a whole bunch of vendors get together at any particular location. A lot of people have host pop-ups, and they'll reach out, they'll invite people such as myself, and we all just gather. And we'll have, it could be anywhere from, I don't know, a few vendors to maybe 15, 20 vendors. Again, everyone's selling their craft, everyone's selling their brand or things that they make. And it reminds me kind of like the flea market, kind of like La Pulga, but really really cool.
Hmm.
It's an amazing feeling. I love that Most of them that I attend are very family oriented, family friendly, doggy friendly, because I'm a dog mom. And I love it. I get to meet people. They get to see the things that I create, from my jewelry to, my hoodies, my shirts, my coffee mugs, my stickers, everything, my whole collection. That's where I bring it. And sometimes it gets tiring, like having to like lug it all everywhere you go. But then I think back again. There are people who literally do this every day of their life just to make a living. And that's where I kind of just, take a deep breath, and I'm like, this is what I love to do. And luckily my husband is helps me, and he does like the lifting, and he does the carrying of like the heavy stuff, because I wouldn't be able to do half of what I do without him. He's amazing.
Yeah, I see you always post it up, and when you post on social media or when you're at Speakeasy or any other spots that you go to, it's great to see that community aspect. When I moved to the Bay Area, I lost that sense of community. I come from a very rural, small town outside of Fresno, and so I've had that community aspect growing up a lot, and so that's something that I do miss about the small areas, is that I do get that. I got that community feel.
Yeah.
Coming to the bigger cities, I you don't get that. I don't have family out here, and so trying to get that back again and going to those places really gave me a sense of community again, and just seeing the warmth of the people everywhere in there, and seeing the different vendors and trying to support as best as I can, but also seeing them support each other. And always trying to support each other, and then seeing what Speakeasy's doing and how they support everyone, and it's
Yes.
just turned into something that I really, really enjoyed. For the longest time, it was hard to find some type of enjoyment. I really do love San Francisco, but for a moment there, it was getting kind of like, it was to a point where I didn't feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable by really wealthy people. Like I don't fit in. Like I just, some aspects of it I just didn't feel comfortable with, because it just didn't seem real to me. It just seemed kind of like, yeah, it just seemed so far out there that I couldn't really comprehend, like, how are people living comfortably in San Francisco, where you meet people, they're living comfortable because they're making so much money, and you're just like knowing people, including myself, that are hustling, working multiple jobs just to try to make it. And it just, I wanted to be around real people. Like,
Yeah.
it's sad to say, I don't know. I feel bad saying that, because I mean, there doesn't take away from, in every other individual. They're good in their
No,
own
no,
way.
no, of
But when
course.
I mean real people, I just mean like real blue collar, hardworking type of people, or just like community people in general. I was just missing that. And so when I got a sense of that again, I latch onto it, because I really do enjoy that, and that makes me feel, makes me feel home. It gives
Yes.
me a sense of normalcy in my life again, and being home, and make me feel like I'm part of something, part of a community. And I feel like as individuals, we all want to be part of a community. Where we lack community, you start to see, people isolate, depression, everything that could go wrong with that happens. And so I wanted to find something different. Well, we're coming up on the break, so let's take a break real quick, and then we'll get restarted again.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, everyone, and we're back. So when we left off earlier, we're talking about the sense of community when you're having your pop-ups. How is it being a vendor?
I love it, Aaron. Oh my God. I feel like I just to give you like a visual. I feel like my heart sparkles when people come. I get so happy. I get to see people that I haven't met in a really long time, who don't um who don't realize that Valentina, I'm Valentina from Mission Native. And so it's like, hey, what are you doing here? Are you shopping? So it's like, no, I'm Mission Native. It's Mission Natives to me. Or I get to meet new amazing people. And my favorite part is when we talk about our stories when we were a kid, our stories of us growing up. It's always the check in. What school would you go to? What elementary school, what middle school, what high school? Um, and then we talk about just our old memories, and we feel alive. It feels like like a moment in time. It's weird. It's like you're reliving it again, and it's just amazing. It's like you feel. I get this high, this beautiful high, this beautiful energy, and it makes me so happy that someone would come out and want to support me, like my designs, like my things, and who actually just open up and talk about, where they're at now. And most of the people tell me, thank you, for doing what you're doing for the mission. We're still out here, we're still alive, and we're just so happy that you're doing what you're doing. And that just makes everything worth it. It does. Because sometimes I'm up like 3, 4 in the morning. Like all the backside stuff, people don't know the ugly story about being an entrepreneur. They just know the good stuff.
So, um, going into a little bit about being an entrepreneur, you made a really big choice in your career, and um, I kind of followed suit lately. How was that making a change going from a career to a full time entrepreneur?
I'm still trying to figure that out, Erin, to be honest with you. I'm still trying to figure that out. I feel a little like a fish out of water because after just grad school, I feel like I felt this is a perfect, okay. It feels right now as if I just graduated grad school and I'm kind of waiting, like, okay, what's next? What do I do? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do this? And so I feel like I'm trying to figure all of this out because I didn't go to school for business. I didn't go to school, for any of this. Um
You didn't go to the California Academy of Arts, or what's the one in San Francisco, the Art Institution, or
I know which one you're talking about. Of course, I can't think about that, but no, no, no. And I didn't. I didn't do that. It would be nice if my then self knew what my now self, things would have been a little bit different. Because now I'm trying to teach myself to sew, and all. It's crazy. It's never too late to change. What you want to do. Don't let anything get in between that. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Of course, I miss having a paycheck. Of course, that's normal. I don't have that anymore. Like Mission Native is my everything right now, and it is a transition. And I'm learning that because it feels odd to me because this is my pride and joy, my passion, my baby, and so it still hasn't clicked in my head yet. Um, that this is what I'm doing to make a living, to earn. I almost feel like no, it's not supposed to be like that. This I feel like I'm almost taking away from that, if that makes sense. It feels a little odd, so I haven't quite found my comfort zone with that.
it doesn't feel normal yet?
No, because this is still like I say, I still see it as my baby, my heart and soul, and I don't want to work because once it's work, then I don't want to do it.
Believe me on that. I believe you on that. Like I recently I'm going into my first week since I left my job,
Oh
and
man.
it's scary. Like
Yeah.
it's something that I needed to do because I felt like I was so burnt out, and it was I worked in a field where you're trying to help individuals that are constantly in a state of chaos, and you have to go through everything with them, the ups and downs, and
Yes.
it's sometimes you can't help an individual. Their life is just so chaotic where they can't help themselves. And so for me it was really hard because I put everything I had into that. And there's a thing called secondhand trauma, and I'm pretty sure you're well aware of it, and you probably went through it in the type of field you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And taking in all of that over the last 5 years has really got me to a really low point of not wanting to do that, where I was miserable waking up like, all right, how am I going to get through today? Like I didn't have any more left in the tank to help another individual in that field. And I feel horrible because I love helping people. That's one of the best things that I like to do is help other people. Like I try to be that one to try to help everyone, and that's just who I am. That's just the person that I am. And the problem was you can't help others if you can't help yourself. And lately, this past year, I've been through a really bad funk, especially with the pandemic and everything, but with through family stuff. My grandparents are getting older. My mom is going through health issues. My father has stage 4 cancer, and so that really messed me up to a point where I thought I was that tough minded individual that can handle everything. When my mom went into the hospital for the first time when it was really serious was in 2020. So towards the end of 2020, she had went into the hospital, and it was an experience where I went in there and I felt like a little kid again. I felt like that little kid, like a little boy, crying when I saw my older brother, and my older brother was there like poised and ready to take on everything, and I just lost it. I was like, oh, I can't do it. I thought I was a strong person. And then that's when I started to hit me like, maybe I don't have a handle on things. And then through the end of the year, my dad got COVID and he was in the hospital for 3 weeks in the ICU. And so this is during Christmas time. And so that was pretty rough. And then the next year he gets diagnosed with cancer. And so like it was a snowball effect. And then I realized like there was things out of my control and I wasn't working on myself and I needed to take a step back. Taking a step back has been pretty difficult though. Like I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. Like I don't know how to move forward. I don't know like if I jump right back into the type of field or type of work I do, case management, if I try to jump back into that, I feel like I'll let people down and I don't want to let clients down and I don't want to feel that struggle anymore. I want to be able to do things on my own. And to be honest, I don't ever want to work for someone else anymore. I just really don't. I want to have my own thing. I want to be accountable to myself because when you're accountable to others, you really have to put your all into that.
Yes. And sometimes you don't get what you want to hear, which is a genuine thank you. I got your back. What are you struggling with? You don't have that support. And I mean, like you said, I was in a similar field, and it just takes sometimes the life out of you because you have to meet everybody where they're at. You got to let go of the expectations. You can want so many different things to help. 'Cause I'm a helper too. I'm a helper and a giver. And it comes to the point where you become last. You become secondary and vicarious trauma, right? Vicarious trauma. A lot of people don't either you believe in that or you don't believe in that, but you come home and it is part of your life. And for me, you kind of just start losing yourself. And if you're going to meet people where they're at and try to do good, I mean, I took an oath of do no harm, right? But what happens to me? What happens to where I need that support? What happens when I'm burnt out? When I'm crying? When I just can't do this? I'm a huge empath, and yeah, it's not healthy. It's not healthy for your community. It's not healthy for yourself, and you do need a break because if you're gonna work in a field when you're in the community, they deserve you. They deserve you at your best. We're not perfect. No one's perfect, but they deserve you to be in this wholeheartedly. And when you can't do that, that's a red flag. And you need to hold yourself accountable. And you need to take a couple steps back. And I still can't believe I resigned. I resigned. I resigned. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'm with you. I'm still finding myself. I'm still finding my comfort zone. It's going on 2 months, and yes, I have a smile on my face only because I still can't believe that happened. That is crazy.
It's a crazy way life makes turns. I've only was doing it 5 years. Right when I finished college, I've jumped right into it, and so I've only been in 5 years. How long were you in your career for? And at the same time, it's like hard to make that change, especially when you set up everything for it, going to grad school and doing all that. You took the steps to get there.
Oh my God, yes. It 14 years. 14 years. And I thought about it, but see, I had been unhappy for a while. And all I kept thinking about was like, bitch, you went to school, you got your master's degree, this is what you wanted to do, you had your plan of life, you're living it. What the fuck's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Get a grip, get a hold, snap out of it. I would talk myself out of that because I felt like I was going to let everybody down. Who's everybody? Well, my husband, you know, my mom and my dad, they're in heaven, they're watching me. I felt like people who my godchildren who love me, who look up to me, I felt like I'm a failure. What the hell am I gonna do? What do you mean I'm just not gonna do anything? What's wrong with me? I thought I was going crazy, right? Um, but I did talk myself out of it many, many, many times until I just couldn't do it anymore. And even now, as I sit here with you, I'm thinking, yeah, I did that. And you know what? It's okay. It's okay. I needed to go through everything that I went through in order for me to be able to start over, or to clear my mind, to clear my soul, to really think about what matters. I hate the whole cliche, life is short, life is too short. You know what? It is too short. I'm someone who's lost so much, so many people that were near and dear to me, that it is short. It go I feel like life comes like in a blink of an eye, then it's all over. And I don't want to be unhappy. I don't want to just work and come home and work and come home. What I want to live. I want to be happy. Okay, I'm not going to make, the money that I was making. My insurance benefits, like all that is hella real right now. Like I gave up a lot that I worked so hard to get. But you know what? It is okay, because something else is going to happen. Other doors are going to open. I'm going to, I don't know what it is now, but I know that I will be doing what I'm supposed to be doing and what's going to bring me back joy again, and purpose and meaning. My parents did not leave their country so that I can have a better, what they wanted, a better opportunity to have a better life, according to their words. They didn't sacrifice everything they knew so that I could be unhappy. They didn't do that. That's bullshit. I know if my parents were here and having this physical conversation, they would say, no, hija, you got to do what makes you happy. Hay más tiempo que vida, right? There's more time than life. You're going to figure this out and you're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. But you can't be working like this if you're not happy.
I think you said it beautifully. Happiness is key to living a fulfilled life. I came to the understanding is that my work was my purpose, and my purpose in life was I saw everything through the work I was doing as a purpose. But what happens when that purpose sours, your life and goes, souring as well. And so I put everything into that, all my eggs into that. That's my purpose. That's who my identity is, who I am. I went to school. Yeah. I'm doing something in my life. I left my little hometown. I'm out here in the big city. I'm doing things. And that was my purpose. And then it went bad. I guess started to sour. And my purpose started affecting me. And now I'm realizing maybe my work like that doesn't have to be my purpose. Maybe I could put a little bit into that and like be part of it. But maybe there's other things in life I could do which I could find meaning and purpose from that won't make me feel the same type of way. And I feel like our culture that we have here, the American culture, is that when we meet people, we automatically talk about what we do, our work. That. We talk about everything, our work, who we are. We never talk about our interests or other things like that. We never talk about that. I never, talk about what I like others besides that, because our whole purpose is our work. It's like what we do. And it's like, that's ultimately the lifestyle that we're caught in the rat race, and we're caught into that. And we're feeding that endless cycle of that, when we could step back, and we have the ability to, because like you said, my family immigrated. My dad's family immigrated here for a better life. My grandparents' family immigrated here for a better life. And my grandpa was a farmer for 60 plus years. He just turned 77 last year. He's going to turn 78 this year. He just retired 2 years ago. And he was a farmer. He never wanted any of his children or grandkids to ever go that. And he always told us, I never want any of you guys to become farmers. It's a dreadful, hard work. But he loved it. He loved it. He could not be anywhere else besides it. But I understood what he was trying to convey by that, because when they first came here, their only opportunity was farming, being a farm labor. That was the only opportunity available. My grandpa had no education. He can't read. He could barely write his name. That's about it. My grandpa's 78 years old. He was able to buy a house, raise 5 kids, 6 kids, have a lot of grandchildren, and be something, someone a part of his community. And he did that off the will of just hard work and perseverance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't have to always be like that for the younger generation. We have the ability now. I have the ability to say, like, you know what, I'm not doing that. I don't have to be a farmer, grandpa. I could go to school. I could do this. And he was never the type to ever say anything other than go to school, go do something. Don't break your back for a living. Use your mind. Do things right.
Yeah.
So now that I did all that, I do feel guilty stepping back, because now I'm just like,
man.
damn, did I
Yeah.
let them down too? Like I did feel that, because I felt I was the one that finally was able to go out there and do it. But maybe I needed to step back, because I was never able to learn how do you deal with the issues that we're dealing with, that vicarious trauma. Like, how do you step back enough to be okay?
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing for me. It's just like, I've never been to therapy. I've never done any of that stuff. I rarely talk about issues and stuff like that. I never brought home work. I never wanted to talk about it, because it's just so depressing.
Yeah.
And maybe the bottling up for too many years finally got to me. I just, this is it. Just said, nope, I'm not doing no more. I just can't. I didn't have it in me to get up that day and face reality. That was the hardest thing I had to do. But it felt like it was the right thing at the right time. And I really do, look up to you when you had told me that you did it. And I was just like, man, if you could do it, and you've been doing your profession for a long, long time,
Whew.
I could make that change in my life. Because one thing this pandemic has showed me is that our employers do not care about us.
Please.
They do not care. They do not care. So find something that you like to do. Don't make it your purpose. I'm not saying, let me rephrase that. Don't make it 100% your purpose, because then you might end up in the situation I was in. And it's not to, be that person that's sour or burnt out. You don't want to maybe get that best advice from someone that's burnt out. But what I'm saying is, find other things in life that you could divide, everything up, and find purpose in other things, and have a more meaningful life and more impactful life for yourself and for others.
I agree. Yeah, it hits home, everything that you're saying. It just does. And yeah, I think because of the pandemic, as you know, it opened up, I think, a lot of there was a lot of room for us to reevaluate what is important, what do we want. We already saw that time doesn't wait for you. Things happen. Um, it's just crazy the way that it all just went down. Um, Things that before and I'm speaking. Let me go back a little bit. Speaking back to my employer, things of, no, you can never work from home. That is not acceptable, not okay to do. It's never gonna happen. Oh, they made sure they found a way to get that shit done, right? I mean, there was ways around to get their needs met. Um, but I think that opened up my eyes as to, you know what? I'm not wasting my life commuting anymore to the city, back to the city. I'm tired. My body's tired. I don't want to do this anymore. So many things just, I put things into perspective. Like, what's important, what's not important, what it is I want to do. And to me, still, yes, it's crazy. It's crazy that that I'm sitting here and that I actually did that. But I did that. And like I said, I'll find my purpose again. I mean, not my purpose, but I'll find what it is I want to, continue to do. But I do need to heal. I need to heal. I need this time for me to figure it out. And a lot of people aren't as lucky. I have my husband's support. A lot of people don't have that support, Aaron. How are they going to pay bills? How do you pay rent? How do you get shit done? They don't have um the opportunity to be able to do that.
Now that you have the opportunity, run with it.
Yes, I am.
Run
I
with it.
sure
Run
I
with it.
sure I
And
sure am.
I do want to reiterate, I'm not saying don't go out there and find your purpose, because your purpose might be your work. But all I'm saying is don't put all your eggs in one basket,
Yeah.
because it could go bad real quick.
Yes.
And it might not be right away, but in 5 years' time, it does make a big difference.
Yeah.
And you might not have the same outlook you once had on a joyful type of job you had. And it just makes everything else in your life, not as exciting or enjoyful. So like it's something that I'm learning to internalize and to learn how to deal with it on my own way. But go for it. You're doing your thing. I see you out here. You're on Mission Native on Instagram. Where else could people find you at?
Right now it's just Instagram. I mean that's all there is, but I'm working. We're going to start working on a website, getting
Okay.
the website together. Um and just trying to expand. I also have a sister brand, Bendecida, and the Instagram to that is Bendecida por Vida. And that's just more for like everybody, like everyone, from the Bay to LA to every barrio around the way. Seriously, like for everybody, all inclusive kind of a thing. So that I've been trying to develop because that's always been on the back burner because Mission Native's first. Mission Native's always going to be first. So I have other projects coming and I have things that I'm working on. I'm always working on so many things at once. I just can't release everything at once.
Mm-hmm.
Today I just dropped 2 items that I've been had. Been. This my Frisco Rose shirt. This is old. And I still, you know, there's just so many things that I haven't dropped. There's yeah, I can't just do it all at once. But my mind is always like going. I'm busy. I have so many projects.
Yeah, and I feel like we never really got into all the things that you do, like your products and everything you sell, but it was amazing hearing your story about who you are. So when people do buy your products or see what you're doing, they know where it's coming from. And that's one thing about um, having people like owning things is like they can see where it comes from. It's not coming from a big corporation. It's coming from you. It's coming from someone that
Yes.
hand makes these things. It's coming from someone that has a story. As it comes from you're supporting someone from the community, and it goes full
Yeah.
circle. And so that's one thing I do love about this is meeting people that have their own businesses that are able to help it come full circle again and show people what it takes to be resilient and what it takes to actually, give back to others. Because that's what you do. You're giving back to others through your products, through your story, and who you are in general.
And giving back to the community. I'm not I'm not very big on letting people know what I do, who I give to. I like to keep those things private. The people and the organizations that I choose to donate to, as long as they know, I'm good with that. Okay? That's something that's really important to me. My dad would always say, the left hand doesn't have to know what the right hand's doing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a big, oh, look what I did, look what I'm doing. That's not who I am. That's not who I was raised. But it is so important for me to give back to my
Mm-hmm.
community, and any chance that I can, I will do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need to announce it to, on Instagram or whatever. That's just not who I am. So long as they know and I know, I'm good. But always, you got to get back to your community. That's who raised you. That's your heart. You got to. You just have to.
That's the best thing about being able to do your own thing now is you have that time. You could do more with that time, whatever you want to do with it. And that's
Yes.
what I'm gonna try to do. is I'm gonna try to give back more in ways I couldn't before. I like to volunteer before, but now I wanted to try to volunteer more often and
Yeah.
more different, different spaces, and trying to give back as much as I can. And also spend a little bit more time on 24th Street and go out there and eat that's some of the best food I've had in San Francisco is probably on 24th Street. Just that whole down that whole stretch is it's
Yes.
just like the different varieties there. And um I do really like my favorite panerias there. You have Weiss, you get those bagels. You go to down to Vallarta to get the tacos, especially the late nights. So that's my late night taco spot. You have a really cool bar at Pops. They're always having a lot of locals there and everything. And
Yeah.
then there's that other place where they were that the fashion show was at, where you've ended at.
At the
Where
Brava Theater.
yeah, so they have a lot of cultural events going on there. So there's always a lot going on in that little area that I really love. And I never used to go there that much. I've always stuck to. I live in the Richmond district, so I've
Yeah.
always stuck to that side. Or I
Yeah.
work on Haight Street. For the longest time, I had a pizza place, and so I always just stuck in those areas. I never really ventured that far out, and so now I'm starting to go, and I'm starting to see, parts of the city that I really, really do love, and I start to appreciate.
Yes.
Well, we're coming towards the end of this podcast and the
Okay.
show, and I do want to appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and just being an overall general good person, and I really do
Oh,
appreciate that. Thank you so much.
thank you. Thanks for having me. I had a great time. Thank you.
All right, thank you.